Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News. Well, good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Thank you guys so much for joining me and good morning, sincere for real. For real. Thank you for joining us. And let's get into honoring God with our bodies. So, God, please guard our mind and our thoughts. God, help me to fix my thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. So I will think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. God, please protect our ears and help us listen to your voice. God, help me to be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. God, please protect my eyes from sin's damage. God, I make a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully. God, please speak life over my mouth. God, set a guard over my mouth. Lord, keep watch over the doors of my lips. God, please help my hands to serve generously. God, help me to do good to everyone, and especially to those who belong to our family in the faith. And God, please protect our reproductive organs. Help us to honor you, God, with purity. God, help me to honor you with my body. And God, please protect our feet as we walk along your path. God, let your word be a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. And so that is something I try to make sure I say every morning. Sometimes I don't always. Sorry, I got to adjust my background here. I know it's going to get better. I'm just saying. But thank you guys again for joining me here. So, of course, there's been a lot of news. So there's been a lot of Supreme Court decisions. They've just been slamming it down. But we're going to start with our trending topics on X. And so to some of the trending topics are feeding our future fraud fugitive arrested in Somalia. So some of these individuals thought that they could just, I'll just go to Somalia. They won't find me. Yes, they will. Oh, yes, they will. And I think it was, and I would just say allegedly, Ilhan Omar did say, well, if the FBI can find crimes and they find people, then let them find them. Well, apparently they did. So that's happening. And you're going to be extradited and brought back here to face trial. Now, the question still becomes, because this is it's like it's a little bit of both state and federal, because the state got the federal funding and then the state distributed the funds, and then the fraud occurred at the state level. It's kind of a weird case, but in any event, some of it fell in the federal realm. that is why this person is, being held account. And I appreciate that. What I would like to see is for them to serve time, and then after they, serve their time here, I want them deported, and them and anyone of their lineage in perpetuity can never apply for citizenship in this country. You're barred. You're barred from the country forever because you're doing us no good and all harm. That's where I'm at. That's just me. So, calls revive Harry Reid's 1993 bill after birthright citizenship ruling. Interesting. Calls revive Harry Reid's bill. What is that? Let's check that out. Good morning, Spud. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And so it says Trump ruling in the Trump versus Barbara upheld the 14th Amendment guarantee of citizenship for nearly all children born on U.S. soil, striking down President Trump's 2025 executive order as beyond presidential power. Online discussions resurfaced Reid's Immigration Stabilization Act of 1993, which sought to deny birthright citizenship to children of non-citizens or non-permanent residents. What? Cut legal immigration and bolster broader security. But it died in committee under then Senate Chair Joe Biden. Conservatives like Senator Bernie Moreno and Mike Lee now push to reintroduce it, highlighting Reid's later regrets and Democrats' past support amid today's immigration debates. Very interesting. And so this is Nick Sortor. He says Senator Bernie Moreno pledges to run former Democrat Senate leader Harry Reid's exact 1993 bill eliminating birthright citizenship for children of illegals. And guess what? Congress actually can do that. Congress can do that. And a lot of people, well, they just, no. You cannot break the law and then benefit. And I think that's what people really need to get there. So Harry Reid nailed it. If you break our laws by entering this country without permission and give birth to a child, we reward that child with U.S. citizenship and guarantee full access to all public social services this society provides. No sane country would do that, right? Guess again. Is it any wonder that 2/3 of the babies born at taxpayer expense at county-run hospitals in Los Angeles, this is just specific to Los Angeles, are born to illegal alien mothers? So, let's give this a little bit of a listen. Style it back.
And we wonder, in this country, why we have an illegal immigration problem. If making it easy to be an illegal alien isn't enough, how about offering a reward for being an illegal immigrant? No sane country would do that, right? Guess again. If you break our laws by entering this country without permission and give birth to a child, we reward that child with U.S. citizenship and guarantee of full access to all public and social services this society provides. And that's a lot of services. Is it any wonder that 2/3 of the babies born at taxpayer expense at county-run hospitals in Los Angeles are born to illegal alien mothers? Just when the American people think nothing can be more absurd than the way we deal, or rather don't deal, with illegal immigration, they discover that we have a political asylum system that would qualify us for Senator Proxmire's Golden Fleece Award 1,000 times over. I don't know why he didn't make this award. He should have. Last year, more than 100,000 people showed up in this country, landing at our airports, washing up on our shores in leaky boats, crossing our borders illegally, overstaying their visas, saying 2 magic words, political asylum, and virtually assured themselves of being allowed to remain in the United States forever. Anyone, no matter how specious the claim, can utter those words and usually within a matter of hours be released on their own recognizance onto the streets of our country with a promise that they'll show up for hearing 18 months later? Can anyone really say they're surprised that the vast majority of asylum applicants never, ever show up for these hearings?
And there was no accountability. This was 33 years ago. This was after amnesty, by the way. I just want to make that clear. Okay. Oh, man. Okay, yeah, leave it the way it is. Sometimes it goes in and out. And I'm like, no, don't lose my topics. Now, Supreme Court upholds Mississippi mail ballot grace period. 5-4 ruling. Yes, we know. y'all are okay with, what was it, election week? Not election day, election week, election month, election season. You don't care. And I have something that I was going over where somebody, I guess, I forget what state it is, but apparently the somebody working at the county level, they took the ballots and they ripped them up. They ripped up election ballots and absentee ballots, and they were found in the trash. And this person is going to face trial. But what are we doing? We really can't have fair elections anymore. People have gotten to the point where they are just petulant children. Well, we just don't like it, so we're just going to rip it up and we're just going to change the results because we want what we want. You are the same. You are people who just don't need to be in office. It's just horrible. Just horrible. So with that, let's get into some of our topics on all sides. So the birthright citizenship ruling sparks debate over constitutional authority. So the Supreme Court on Tuesday ruled that birthright citizenship remains protected under the Constitution, rejecting President Trump's effort to end it. He wasn't trying to end it. What he was trying to do is end illegals coming here and having children. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to end people basically having an allegiance to another country and coming here and saying, because it's just soil, I can have a child here, and now you have to give me all the benefits because that child's a U.S. citizen. Because even the Supreme Court said that child's a U.S. citizen regardless of their parents' status, because what our forefathers did not predict, but they did say something, they did not predict that people would be allowed to be in here illegally. They really thought we were just gonna, uphold the border. I'm just saying, we didn't do that. We didn't. And we were allowed to become overrun. And they did cite invasion. What if this could be used to invade our country? I feel a little invaded. I'm just saying. Because we have over 300 legal ports of entry. You cannot tell me you cannot find a legal port of entry. You know why it's so difficult to become a U.S. citizen? Because of the fraud, because you have to be vetted, because you have to actually do the work. It's a privilege to be a U.S. citizen. It is not a right. And that's the difference. And if there is anybody who has a right to it, whose, lineage it was written for, is me. Because see, my great-great-great-grandmother has freedmen on her marriage certificate, which lets me know that she was an emancipated slave. That is who the 14th Amendment was written for. It wasn't written for anybody to be just soil, because it didn't say that. And people have politically just abused the 14th Amendment. And in proxy, abused the American people. You cannot come here breaking the law and then expect to be rewarded by it. But that is the system that has been created, and it's gonna stop. It will. Now, defendants in a Texas ICE facility incident case sentenced up to 100 years in prison. Good. What is wrong with you? You weren't protesting. You were out there doing all kinds of nonsense. And I kept saying, I was like, these people are going to go to jail. They're going to go to jail. They're going to go to jail, jail, jail. And now you're in jail. Well, actually, prison. Because these are federal crimes. Oh, yeah, it's happening. Again, SCOTUS upholds birthright citizenship, says Trump order unconstitutional. Oh, y'all are just smiling and just gleeful. It doesn't change the fact that you are okay with illegal activity. We're going to get to that. CPJ to review journalists killed in Gaza. List after Hamas releases militant obituaries. So sad. So sad. These gentlemen were just covering the news and they lost their lives. So definitely be praying for their families. Keep their families in your prayers. You may not, and all the times, with these conflicts, it's like, well, they're the enemy, and these people, they still have families. There was still somebody that loved them. Right or wrong, just saying, we need to pray. Okay. The European heat record temps, excess deaths, climate change, and biased headlines. Yeah, it's getting hotter because the more trees that you cut down and the more cement you have, yeah, it's going to be hotter. That's just, it is what it is. So if anybody's terraforming the planet, it's us humans. Yeah, but it needs to stop. And it's interesting because the same people that talk about climate change are the people abusing the climate more than we do. Who's driving, flying all these Lear jets everywhere, putting chemicals in the air? Not me, because I don't own one. Just saying. Look, I'm out of that conversation. Just saying. A media divided over Trump's Great American State Fair. And then SCOTUS allows mail-in ballots to be counted after Election Day. So we've got our topics done so far. Now, what I wanted to do is I wanted to actually play a video from America Real Voices. And let me make sure I'm saying that right. Sorry, y'all. Getting to my notes. Yes, Real America's Voice. Sorry about that. Real America's Voice. And they just had a little bit to say about the SCOTUS decision.
Show with a major decision out of the United States Supreme Court. They ruled that birthright citizenship is legal, that it must continue. Now, that doesn't mean that the Congress doesn't have options. Now, the obvious way would be a constitutional amendment, but there are some things short of that, something that could get through a Senate with just 51 votes, meaning a spending bill. They could outlaw birth tourism centers and say no state will get money if they allow a birthright tourism center in their state. They could also declare that any state that allows a illegal alien can't recognize the child of that illegal alien because they violated the law. That also could be tied to federal funding. There are options for addressing this short of a constitutional amendment, which doesn't seem possible in this divided America. I see a lot of whining and gnashing of teeth, but you know who's not? President Trump. Today he said, we'll get something done in Congress. On that point, I want to turn to one other thing before I turn to our amazing co-host, Amanda Head. Today, it is clear that the White House is working on a plan with House Speaker Mike Johnson to get the Save America Act down. Now, in its current form, the Save America has 4 components, including birthright citizenship and a ban on men and women's sports. The court dealt with that today. They don't have to worry about the ban anymore on women's sports. And in the first one, they're going to do birthright citizenship a different way. So in that scenario, it opens the door for the president to slim the bill down to just voter ID and citizenship checks and possibly get it past the Senate parliamentarian, put it in a reconciliation bill to fund the Pentagon, which everybody wants to vote on, and possibly get this done. Keep an eye on that dynamic. I did a lot of reporting on this today. It is very real up in Capitol Hill. And with that, I'm going to turn to Amanda Head, who's at the White House. She has the very latest here. Also, on a second big ruling, Amanda, on women's sports. Welcome. How's it out there? Pretty warm, huh?
Yes. It's a toasty day here at the White House, but John, it was even hotter when Tom Homan came over and spoke to the media about an hour and a half ago. He was absolutely fired up about the Supreme Court ruling, and the phrase that he used, I believe, was, we are going to ramp up enforcement, we're going to prioritize, and we are going to quadruple our efforts when it comes to prioritizing laws that are broken, immigration laws that are already on the books, in the process of birth tourism operations. So he was very animated in talking about this topic. But yes, as you discussed, the Supreme Court upheld the ban on biological men competing in women's sports. That was in Idaho and West Virginia, that case. Now, that is a win for women, biological women in sports. And the president applauded this. He posted this on Truth Social. Big win. The United States Supreme Court just ruled against men playing in women's sports. Wow, that takes that ridiculous situation off of the table. Now, while the Supreme Court allows the ban of trans athletes in women's sports, it does not require the adoption of that policy. So, John, as you know, in a lot of blue states, most notably like California, they are going to continue moving in their own direction. And then you will have some of the purple and red states, obviously, that are erring on the side of what the Supreme Court decided, which is the side of biology, which is that men biologically, it's just a biological fact that they are superior to women when it comes to not only the amount of muscle mass, but the density of muscle mass, the resistance of muscle mass. So that was a great decision. And a lot of folks who are proponents of women's sports outside of the Supreme Court earlier today who were very much cheering on that decision. So that was a great one.
It sure was. And I'm going to put a circle around a couple things that I'm going to be watching in the next Supreme Court decision, which kicks off in October, late September, early October. I think the president's executive order banning men and women's sports across all federally funded school districts gets to the Supreme Court. And so the second half of this ruling, today, a state can impose a ban. Now the question is, can the federal government impose it, and should it be the law of the land? I think that makes it to the docket next year. And then the case that you and I were talking last night with Catherine Hanaway, the Attorney General of Missouri, I think we'll get there next year too. And that is that we shouldn't be counting illegal aliens in the census. That is an important case that I think will be on the docket next year. So big things in the works. And then I would keep an eye on Congress. I think there's a plan to get some 51 votes through, starting with the Save America Act, Amanda. I think it could be big. And
Yeah. And see, that's what I'm saying. Everybody's out here keying, like, yeah, we won. Okay. When you're cheering on fraudulent activity, the people actually get the benefit from, like, what are you doing? Like, think about it. But what I like is the fact that it's about to be on like hot butter popcorn. Look, Donald Trump is not playing with y'all, because you keep thinking, oh, he's crazy. Oh, this and that. He might be a little much. But there are some instances where there's a glimmer of sanity. Yeah. Okay. So I asked, I said, can Congress amend laws that allow those, sorry, I misspelled those, y'all, born on the soil to not receive any federal funding of any kind or any type of monetary funding if their parents are here illegally, or if their parent came to only benefit off of the United States? And it said also, can Congress amend the law to require the parents to take the child with them if they are deported? One out of two ain't bad. So yes, Congress has significant authority over federal funding and benefits, and it can, and it has restricted eligibility in ways that affect mixed status families, meaning the parents are here illegally, but the child is a U.S. citizen because apparently, Supreme Court's like, just soil, great. That's where we're at. Even though that's not why it was written. It wasn't. Let me get off that box. Okay, so including U.S. citizen children of undocumented parents, people here illegally. However, it cannot directly strip constitutional citizenship or fully override core protections without a constitutional amendment, right? So the second part, requiring parents to take citizen children upon deportation, raises serious constitutional and practical issues. So federal funding benefits to undocumented parents. And it actually brought it up. It said anchor babies or birther tourism. I didn't tell it to do that. It did that because those are the two main areas here. So citizenship itself is protected under the 14th Amendment, right? Because here they go, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction and thereof are citizens. So this all persons born actually was for emancipated slaves and their descendants. Because see, without that little phrasing right there, I'm not a citizen. It was written to be perpetual for people that were descendant from here. It was not to say just soil, because if that was what it was meant for, it would have said that. And it didn't. And that's never been argued. And they always want to just go to and assume it was just soil because that's their interpretation. And it's wrong. And you are defiled. You just, okay, let me again. Okay. So Congress controls federal spending and can oppose conditions, right? So under its spending power, in Section 5 of the 14th Amendment, or for enforcement, Congress can restrict who qualifies for most federal public benefits. Undocumented immigrants are already largely barred from most federal means tested benefits, right? The 1996 PRWORA, and it was like the Workforce Act and Welfare Reform, right? So if you came over here from another country, even if you were legally here, you could not apply for any benefits. I think you had to be here like 5-10 years or something like that before you could apply for like Medicaid, Medicare, what is it, SNAP benefits, any of that. You couldn't just come over here and get those benefits up until a few years ago, right? So U.S. citizen children generally remain eligible individually, what Medicaid, CHIP, SNAP, on a prorated household basis, but Congress can tighten the rules. What they can do is require stricter verification, limit or condition federal funding to state programs serving mixed family status, target birth tourism via funding cuts to states or facilities facilitating it, what they were talking about in that video, or reconciliation bills, okay, which is something else they were talking about doing. So proposals like using budget reconciliation for the Save America Act or similar have been discussed to indirectly address this without a full amendment. I love it. Let's go. Because you have a simple majority. If y'all don't get this stuff through, then you don't care. That's where I'm at. You don't care. Now, practical limits and precedents. Bills have targeted benefits for non-citizens and indirectly affected citizen kids, right? So states administer many programs with federal matching funds so conditions can bite. However, outright denial of all aid to citizens' children could face equal protection challenges, okay? But what we need to do is de-incentivize people coming here because they're like, oh yeah, my kid's a citizen, they get housing, no. And that's where we have to say no. And the other thing that needs to happen, all of these grants for immigrants, anything attached to immigration and grants needs to be banned from this country outright. No more. I don't care. No immigration grants anymore. No immigration federal contracts. Anything dealing with immigration needs to come through Congress. We need to stop funding our own demise. Just do a simple Google search and just see how many grants come up for immigration. How do you think people have been able to stay here as long as they have and get protection from immigration lawyers? No, they want those immigration lawyers, pay for them out your own pocket. Stop having the taxpayers pay immigration lawyers for our own demise. This is an invasion. I don't care what you say. Requiring deported parents to take U.S. citizen children. That's not going to happen, apparently. Congress cannot force deportation of citizens or mandate parents to take them in a way that overrides parental rights or due process. Interesting. They get parental rights, but just again, my soapbox, my goodness. Amendments could tighten procedures, right? Congress could pass laws clarifying options, incentivizing family unity. They could do that. Bottom line, Congress can do a lot on benefit funding via legislation, which is good. Core birthright citizenship it says it's constitutional, in my opinion, No, they got it wrong. They got it wrong. They hang their hat on somebody who claimed domicile. So deportation of family is handled case by case. Now, I said with birth tourism, the child goes with the parent, and that isn't considered deportation because it's not. So, why, if Congress mandated families cannot be separated and that the child can return when they are of age as a citizen, but the family has to leave if the parents are not citizens? So, Congress could pass laws structuring deportation proceedings this way for certain cases, but it will face significant legal, practical, and constitutional hurdles. It wouldn't be as straightforward as it sounds. But that's what they said. This is what they could do. They could regulate immigration enforcement and family unity policies, incentivize or condition outcomes, major obstacles and limits, parental rights, and due process. Okay. So there's that. So it's not that simple in practice. This is already close to what happens in many cases. So deported parents often take their U.S. kids with them voluntarily to keep the family intact, right? In some cases, the government doesn't deport the child, it removes the parent and the child accompanies. And that's all I'm saying. And there have been like, well, I think it was like 1.3 million did that like last year. And those individuals are actually working on getting their citizenship to come back the right way. And that's what we want. I want people here the right way. I don't want people here illegally because it causes harm. You know, those are the people that end up in sex trafficking and slavery, you know, all kinds of weird things going on. We don't want that. We want people here legally, not illegally. And people really need to understand that and wrap their heads around it and not coming here legally like, okay, now just give me all the welfare. Oh no, parents coming back with children that are, you know, US citizens, you better plan on working a job because you're not going to be getting welfare. Understand that. Oh yeah, you're not getting housing, you're not getting any of that stuff. Oh, the hammer's coming down. I'm just saying. So individuals that are pregnant traveling to the United States could be banned. Yes, Congress has broad authority to restrict or ban entry for pregnant individuals, particularly to target birth tourism. This is one of the more feasible policy tools short of changing the 14th Amendment. So that's what they could do. Immigration control is a core federal power. Yes, Congress can set virtually any entry criteria. Any entry criteria. Let me say that again. Any entry criteria. So all you little immigration lawyer out there going, they can't. Yes, they can, because it falls in their jurisdiction to do it. I'm just saying, falls on their lap. Visa requirements or inadmissibility grounds under the Immigration Nationality Act. See, what I would like for them to do is say, okay, not only do you have to send us a full medical report, right, that you just got, I would say in 2 weeks, 14 days, full medical report, 14 days. You also have to submit a urine sample, right? And everyone's like, well, did they have to send it in? No, they have to actually go to a lab and submit it. And if it's found to be fraudulent, banned from the country. You don't ever get to come back here again. You just banned. Like, we're not playing this game with you anymore. I don't even know how they get here. It's like you go through an x-ray machine. How are pregnant people coming through an x-ray machine? Or are they just being ushered in? Right? It's that part. It's that part. Executive action. So the President, Department of State, and DHS have already have discretion to tighten visa issuance. So they can already tighten this. Like I said, they could ban certain countries. They could be like, okay, females from China can't come here. People from China can't come here. You're one of the major countries. We can ban, like, you act like you just can just come here to, no, you can't. You have to get a visa. And we can say, you know what, you're on the ban list. You're on the ban list too. Yep. Until we get all of this figured out, that would be me. Everybody's banned. We're not issuing any visas for anything, for any reason. We're shutting it down. We're closed right now. That's where I would be. That's just me. Limited challenges cannot be absolute or discriminatory in any way that violates equal protection. Like a blanket ban on all pregnant women would likely face lawsuits, which is crazy because you cannot demand a visa from this country. I don't care. And what I'm saying is just ban the country. Just ban them. They can't come. It would need to be narrowly tailored, focused in short-term tourist visas, right? Or certain countries plus evidence of intent. Yeah. And I would be like, okay, since China, we already know y'all do birth or tourism, you got websites stating that you're banned. You're banned. I would just do it for the next 18 months. Like, yeah, for the next year and a half, you're banned. You can't come here. You can't do any type of tourist visas, period. Bye. I'm just saying. Yeah. Practical issues. Bottom line, yes, this is a viable and actively discussed approach. Okay, so tighter border security, eliminate financial incentives, ban pregnancy travel, and ban chain migration. Yes, Congress has authority to pursue all four of those policies. So they can do that. That doesn't take a convention of states. It doesn't take all, they can do that. Now, these are standard tools within immigration law that lawmakers have debated, proposed, and partially implemented over time. Okay, so tighter border security, eliminate financial incentives, right? And PROWA was one of them, tighten eligibility, ban pregnancy travel, yes. Ban and limit chain migration. See, this is another one that happens. So Congress controls this entirely. Let me say that again. They control that entirely. So chain migration refers to family-sponsored visas, siblings, adult children, parents of citizen, LPRs, right? So Congress can eliminate or cap certain preference categories. Do you see this word right here? Eliminate it. Period. That's what needs to happen. Raise income sponsorship requirements, shift towards merit skills based, limit derivatives. No, just eliminate it all outright. Just be done. Be done. Period. So can you outline any provisions in the big beautiful bill, HR 1, that could be amended to reflect what has been discussed here? Yes. So HR 1 is a large reconciliation packet. It already contains provisions related to border security, immigration enforcement fees, and some benefit tax restrictions. These could serve as vehicles for amendments aligning with the policies discussed, right? So let's see, Title IV, Committee, Homeland Security, this would be the border security, border barrier system and construction, amend to expand the wall fencing funding. I wouldn't worry about that, but it includes specific anti-birth tourism screening infrastructure. That's what they're talking about. This is how you amend this to get around birth or tourism, right? And then U.S. border protection personnel and fleet vehicles, amend to increase staffing, add pregnancy visa intent screening requirements at ports of entry. So yes, you do need to have screening. Like I said, they already have the machines that can basically see through your body. So they can see if you're pregnant or not. I'm just saying, and be like, no, you can't come here. Go away. Go away. You cannot come here. CBP technology, vetting activities, National Vetting Center, and other border security efforts. Let's see, prime spot for amendments, adding advanced screening for birth tourism, right? Additional sections of it could add conditions tying funds to state cooperation on birth tourism, right? Like they were saying before, you just strip their funding. Committee on the Judiciary for Asylum, Immigration Matters, Part 1, multiple sections imposing or raising fees for asylum, employment authorization, parole, TPS, special immigrant juveniles. So they could amend to add new high fees or surcharges specifically for a certain non-immigrant visa, right? with pregnancy-related disclosures or penalties tied to birth tourism. Yup. You're not going to have a baby here. And you're going to have to pay a fine when we find out that was your intent to come over here. I love it. Other immigration enforcement funding and applicability of laws, tax benefits, change the premium tax credits, Medicare eligibility restriction for certain non-citizen child tax credit, education credit, SSN requirements, and other adjustments that limit access for non-citizens or mixed households. So amend to further tighten eligibility for citizen children in households with undocumented parents, expand the Social Security work authorization requirements, and add new restrictions on federal benefits funding to states. So I will leave this for you guys, but yeah, there is a way to get around it. So it says HR 1 already moves in the direction of stronger enforcement and restrictions, targeted amendments to the Homeland Security and Judiciary titles would be the most direct path. Okay. So, and I'm so sorry. I thought I had this up. I was just reading and y'all was just looking at me. So sorry. I was into it. But anyways, but yes. So I will definitely make sure that this is linked so you guys can check it out and send it to your congressmen and your senators and say, this is what we want. We do not want to be a nation that says we have laws but don't follow the laws. We'll fall apart as a country. We can't have it. You have to follow the laws. That's the only way we've been around for 250 years, by God's grace. Look, by God's grace, I don't care what you say. The only reason we are here is by the grace of God. That's it. So I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Unfiltered Vision News. We will be back tomorrow with our Mighty Men Thursday. But thank you so much for joining me here today for Women in Wellness Wednesday, where we're just talking about a little bit of constitutional wellness, right? It's something that we definitely need. So remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. We will see you in the next one.